but this will rock your world as you know it today in Ambit Energy. I've been a student of this business for a long time. I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I'm smarter than most. And what I can tell you is that every once in a while an opportunity comes along where there's a paradigm shift in the opportunity. We have the greatest opportunity in the direct selling industry today. We have a public utility that's unconsciously purchased, habitually used, with a partnership between field leadership and corporate leadership and integrity on both sides of that equation. And the good news is that you already are participating. You understand that 99.99999% of the population in the United States of America doesn't even know the name Ambit Energy, much less in the world. And you're here. And you're already in it. And you've already made the decision to use it as the vehicle to take you from point A to point B. And we've developed a system over the last 10 years that will get you from point A to point B. There's always challenges with every business. And one of the challenges we had in our business, $429. And let me tell you why it was a challenge. It was a challenge in our business not because of $429. It was a challenge because people didn't have enough confidence in themselves to invest $429 in themselves. You have people that looked at the business, jumped in right away. It's because they had the self-esteem and the confidence and knowledge that they could go get a return of that $429 and get a return of it and on it. They had no doubt in their mind. But the people that hesitated, the people that said maybe, the people that kept putting you off, wouldn't answer your phone calls, and so on and so forth, the bottom line is that you've got an opportunity. Let me ask you something, George. Let me get this straight. You just saw the greatest financial opportunity ever created in the free enterprise system on a $429 investment, and you can't see how you can get a return of your investment and on your investment. Plug it into a simple system with a company that's got integrity, marketing a public utility unconsciously purchased and habitually used. And every single person in here that's built this business will agree with me. The vast majority of people said yes. I don't believe enough of myself. You see, folks, what I know to be an absolute fact, 100% certainty, is that when a person looks at any opportunity, the first thing they analyze is how am I going to get my money back? Not how I'm going to make money, just how am I going to get my money back? In other words, if I stroke a check or put up my credit card for this X number of dollars, how am I going to get my money back? And this is what I know is fact number 2, 100% certainty. In Ambit world of $429, they could not get their investment back by themselves. They had to depend on other people. Everybody agree with that?
Yes.
In other words, they couldn't go get 30 customers, they're going to get $400 back. And so what typically happened was that they didn't understand the compensation plan totally, but they started figuring out, how do I get my money back? They said, well, I'm going to go get 10 customers, and I'm going to get $200 back, and then I'm going to have to get 2 more people in, and they're each going to have to get 2 customers. And all of a sudden, to make a long story short, they were dependent on other people, not just to pay $429 to get into the business, but more importantly, that they had to go gather customers. And as soon as that conscious thought came upon them that they didn't have destiny in their own hands, they were taking the risk of borrowing the money for the rent money, or not paying the car payment, or juggling this or juggling that, or getting the wife or the husband mad at them and put the money up and it wasn't going to come back fast enough. And people said no to our business. Because one, they didn't have self-confidence in themselves, but most importantly, from a psychological perspective, what I need you to understand is they knew that they couldn't control it themselves. They knew that the destiny was in the hands of other people, and they weren't willing to take the risk. So, simulcast a year ago, 2014, Ambit Energy comes out with open enrollment. Didn't cost anything to get involved in Ambit Energy. You paid $24.95 for your website, and everybody that ever thought about getting into Ambit got into Ambit. That was a bunch of brain damage. A few people did something, but you know, I think most of us will agree at the time we thought it was great, and in hindsight, we were just all scratching our head and said, what just happened?
Yeah.
And then after going to zero, the company had to fluctuate. They couldn't go right back to 429, so they fluctuated between 75 and 150 and back to zero and so on and so forth. And what happened during that period of time was there was uncertainty. And what you can't do with a field force is you can't change the training unless the runway is long enough for the promotion I knew how you went and built a business at zero down. Open enrollment was totally different than how you went and built a business at 429. But I never led the charge to change anything in the training because it was a 6-week promotion and they go back to 429. By the time you had any semblance of even the leaders understanding it, you were right back to 429. And Ambit, believe it or not, doesn't come to me and consult with me, how long do you think we should do this? And so there was just this whole year of basically going along where we couldn't change the training, but a paradigm shift had occurred and it needed to be changed. So I hadn't done this in 5 years. I called Chris Chambliss up. I said, you and I need to talk. And he said, about what? I said, well, we're going to talk about one or two things. We're going to talk about me being real inactive in Ambit Energy, or we're going to talk about a change. So when can you make it up? I wasn't quite that direct, but I told him, I let him know, because it's all about making somebody understand posturing, that I was serious about this conversation. I sat down with Chris, and I explained to him what I'm getting ready to explain to you, and I explained to him that I understood that the company had to protect itself financially, but there needed to be an entry fee that was not zero, that we could go out with over a period of time, and we could change the training so that we could prove to them that the acquisition of customers was going to go up, not go down. And that the profitability of the company was going to go up on a lower price point to enter our business, not go down. And so he listened intently. He thanked me for my time, and if you know Chris at all, he's a very deep thinker. He's a reader, he studies things, he analyzes things. Of course, he had to go back and do the financial analysis. And my recommendation to him was to go to $75 for the enrollment fee permanently. Yes. And after I sat down with Chris, I started talking to Daryl, and I started talking to Eric, and I started talking to people at corporate and explained to them because I wanted to get support within the company. And at simulcast of this year, 2016, in my opinion, the company made the greatest single announcement in the history of the company. We've had free energy, we've had double triple, we've had all these great announcements. And that announcement was not $75 permanently. That announcement was between now and December 31st of 2016, we're going to make the enrollment fee $75. And I knew at that moment in time that there was a mission that had to be done. I'm going to do a training the first Tuesday of May in Chicago. And the next night I'm going to be in Columbus, Ohio. The next night I'm going to be in Pittsburgh. The next Monday I'm going to be in the Hartford area. Wilshire, is it? Is that? Chester. I'm going to be in Chester, which is kind of on the New York side of Hartford. Then I'm going to be in Tweetsbury in Massachusetts. And then I'm going to be in I'll butcher that one too. Whatever, I'm going to be in Massachusetts, and the next night I'm going to be in Portland, Maine. I can handle that one, okay? I haven't called it Portland, Oregon before, but anyway, I'm going to be in Portland and Maine, okay? With Tim Devine and the team there. So, what I can tell you is that the reason that I'm going out is not because I want to, but because it's important, and then I'm going to put together a tour in Texas, and I'm going to go out to California, and then I'm going to probably do it all again in the summer. And I'm going to do it until I get enough people to understand that what I'm getting ready to teach you is the only way to build your business from this point forward. Now, I'm very, very careful over the years not to cut down any other leaders, not to say, hey, this system's wrong, that system's wrong, or the other system's wrong. But there's nobody else up here that is going to tell you they made $27 million in Ambit Energy besides Brian McClure. So, what I'm going to tell you is that the distinction that I'm going to give you is very minor. This is not like you got to learn a whole new system. It's one small distinction that will take the number of people that you put into your business and it will skyrocket. And in addition to that, it'll take the percentage of people that actually make money after they get into Ambit Energy, and it should move it close to 90 to 95%. I can tell you that a third of the people that get into my business, over the years, I never got a dime, and they're coded to me, I never got a dime in coding. And I promise you, Philip's number is the same, and Ray's number is the same. So we only got 65% of the people that ever joined Ambit Energy to ever get paid. What happened is that 35% of them never had an opportunity to get excited because all they did is spend a bunch of money on something that didn't work because they didn't work. So what if we could take that number, and this is monumental, folks. I mean, moving 1 or 2 percentage points is great in our industry. But if we can take that number and move it from 65% to 90 to 95%, the explosion of the momentum that is going to occur in Ambit Energy is going to be second to none. Now, it's not going to occur next month or the next month. We're going to have the best summer ever if you'll go out and teach this. But summer's slow time. And we're going to go into ambition, and they're going to do whatever they're going to do in announcements and everything, and we're going to get that big push out of ambition. And for people that will embrace this now, by ambition of 2017, we're going to have more people with commas in their checks with 2 digits on the other side of it than we do today with people with commas in their checks with 1 digit on the other side of it. This business is all about getting paid. Is Norbert Hennessy here? Yes. Norbert, how many people did you put into your business that got paid before the first person that came into your business didn't get paid when you started? 88. 88. The first 88 people that Norbert Hennessy put into his business got paid. That's why Ray Money made executive consultant in 60 days. Because so many people were getting so much money, they were getting so excited, and they were going to the meetings, yeah, I got $100, yeah, I got $200, yeah, everybody was getting paid. Folks, people get in this business to get paid. We get paid to do 2 things: gather a handful of customers and help other people do the same thing. The key word there is help, not tell people to go get customers, help people to go get customers. So the first thing you have to understand is this doesn't work unless you work. So this is not about telling them how to go get customers. You can tell them to go look at top Ambit leaders and Mary's training on how to get customers in the training section there, or get on a web call with the EC Factory, or however you train your organization to go get customers. That's not a bad thing. But the bottom line is, for this to work, you've got to go help them gather customers. So I don't have time to teach the system, but I'm going to go over it real quick, and I'm going to give you the small little distinction that's different than what we do today, that will explode the momentum in Ambit Energy, the likes of which you've never seen. In the biggest heydays that ever occurred in Ambit Energy, that'll look like we're going at about 2 miles an hour. Now that's only going to happen for the organizations that embrace what I'm getting ready to tell you, go and teach it, and more importantly, go and actually do it. Because the money's not going to flow unless we enroll a whole bunch of new people in Ambit Energy, right? But what I'm telling you is that 65% is going to go to 95%. And the amount of money that you're going to make is going to explode. So let's talk about the system, and I'm going to tell you what the change is. So we have a system where you make a written list. And from the written list, the only purpose of the written list is to invite somebody to look. Not to invite somebody to join, not to try to convince them to join, but you invite somebody to look. That's a distinction that has not changed, but a very important one. At the point of invitation, your only purpose of the point of invitation is to get them to go online to look at the video or look at the CD in the Successful Home magazine, or sit down with a one-on-one or two-on-one, or invite them to come to an in-home meeting and show the plan. So the third step is STP, show the plan. And you've heard leader after leader after leader after leader stand up here, when in doubt, show the plan, show the plan, show the plan, show the plan. So number one, written list. Only purpose of the written list is to invite people to take a look. Now, if all you ever did make a written list, do you have any possibility of enrollment of a new consultant in your business? No. Zero possibility. If all you ever did is make a written list and then invite somebody to take a look and no one ever took a look, do you have any possibility of enrollment in your business? No. The only possibility of enrollment occurs at step 3, which is show the plan and have them see the business. Now you have possibility, and then step 4 is validation. And all validation does is it takes the possibility that's created that they could join the business at the point of business presentation and increase the probability. So validation is about increasing the probability. What is validation? It's taking them to a hotel meeting. It's giving them a magazine if you didn't do that to invite them to take a look. It's doing a 3-way call. That's typically the number one thing that occurs is you do a 3-way call. It's your first validation event. It's sitting down with them at Starbucks and introducing them to somebody else in Ambit Energy. None of that's changed. That's our system. At the end of the business presentation, this hasn't changed either. I'm going to tell you when I get to the change. They can say one of 3 things. They can say, yes, I want to do the business. What do you do then? You go to the computer as fast as you can and you sign them up. It doesn't change. They can say, no, I don't want to do the business. What do you do then? Ask them to be a customer, okay? So we got a lot of people understand the system. And then the third thing they can do is they can say, maybe. Need to talk to my husband, need to talk to my wife, need to come up with the money, got to do due diligence, got to see what my schedule will permit, blah, 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 blah. Anything that's not going to the computer and signing up or saying, no, this isn't for me, everything else is a maybe. Now, we knew that in teaching the mechanics of how to build a sales and marketing organization, the most valuable asset of that person that just said maybe is what? Their written list, their sphere of influence. It wasn't ever than $429. So here's where the changes occur. So what we did before is we knew that the only way that person could be successful in Ambit Energy was if they were able to enroll people into the business, and the only way they could get their return of investment was if they could enroll people into the business and gather a handful of customers. So we were forced to go with that fork in the road. Do you get the person customers first, or do you get the person consultants first? And we tried it both ways. We had leaders teaching one way and other leaders teaching another way. And when it was all said and done and the dust settled about year 2, everybody, 100% of leadership in Ambit Energy agreed that what you have to do is ask them to take a look at the opportunity. And when they say no, you grab them as a customer. So you were getting a written list of people that they might know that wanted to earn some additional money. And the way I taught it was something along this line. Mary just said, I need to talk to John, my husband. I would turn to Mary, and you've heard me train this over and over again, and I would say something to Mary like this. I would say, Mary, let me ask you a question. Once you talk to John, I'm all in favor of that and everything. But would it be worth an additional 5 to 7 hours of your time if I did most of the work, see if Ambit Energy could work for you and your family? And a lot of times she would say yes. She'd say, well, Mary, the way that would work is, you know how I called you up and I got you to take a look at the internet, the video online? What if you spent 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, driving to and from work just as you had spare time over the next few weeks, and get some people to take a look at the video, and then after they look at the video, put them on the phone with me? And Mary, wouldn't you agree that if we did that with 20 people and all 20 people said no, that it's something you shouldn't do? And Mary said yes. And Mary, wouldn't you also agree that if we did it with 20 people and one or two or three of them, low expectation, said yes, it's probably something you should do? And Mary would say yes. How many people use that system? That's a huge problem. Okay? As all these years we've taught it, and what happens is it goes in one ear and out the other. You went about trying to sell Mary and call Mary and done Mary, and when are you going to come to the meeting, to where Mary wouldn't answer your phone call anymore. You see, in the way that we did business and seeing if they would make a written list, what happened is that we knew instantly whether Mary was going to do the business or not. Because if Mary believed enough in it to give me a written list, what happened was Mary had a possibility of being successful, getting a return of it on her investment. But if Mary wasn't willing, didn't believe enough into what I was showing her to give a written list, she had no possibility. And so what most people in Ambit Energy have done is they've tried to convince them, try to sell Mary into a $429 package. And I'm telling you, it doesn't work. Didn't work then, doesn't work now, never will work. So the system taught, get a written list. Get a written list from Mary and see if you can move her into action to not gather customers, but to get somebody else involved in the business. Here's the distinction. Today it's $75 to get involved in our business, plus $24.95. So for discussion purposes, we're just going to talk about $100. I'm here to tell you, whether it's a conscious thought pattern, which 95% of the time it is, or it's an unconscious thought pattern, that person that you're trying to enroll in your Ambit Energy business is analyzing how to get their money back. And wondering and having enough, do I have enough self-esteem, enough confidence to get my money back? So we know it's a couple extra dollars for taxes, so it's going to be, $103 or whatever it is, but just allow me the liberty to talk about $100 to get involved in the business. So $100 to get involved in our business. I'm a brand new person. I've just seen the plan. What do I have to do to get my money back? I have to gather 2 Texas customers or 3 customers outside the state of Texas, one of the 2. Who controls the destiny as to whether I do that or not? Me. So one of the things that's occurred here is all of a sudden it's a lot simpler to understand how I'm going to get my money back. Okay? And this is what I talked to Chris about. And then on top of that, it's almost child's play for most people to think they can go get 2 customers. Now we know that getting a couple of customers isn't the easiest thing in the world, that there are going to be a lot of people that say no. But the person at the point of being a prospect thinks, oh yeah, well my mom would do it and I would do it. Or I would do it, and so outside of Texas, you're going to have to get 2 more customers, and they think in Texas, well, I would do it, my mom would do it. So that'd be simple. So at that point, at the end of the business presentation, you're going to say to Mary, you're going to say something along the lines, Mary, I don't know, there was a lot of stuff in that business presentation, but what I want to address with you is how you're going to get a return on your investment. It's going to cost you $100 plus a couple of bucks to get involved in our business. And Mary, you understand that all you have to do is get 2 customers to get your money back. And with the promotion that we're running right now, and I'm going to do Texas, and you can translate if you're outside of Texas. The promotion we're running right now, Mary, is if you get 2 more customers, they're going to double your money, and you're going to get 200. So Mary, let me ask you a question. If I were able to show you a way that you could make $100 an hour by getting involved with Ambit Energy, would that be of interest to you? Now this is important. You're going to translate into an hourly wage. How many people in here get excited about making $100 an hour? How many people get excited about making $75 an hour? Okay, so you're going to talk about $75 if they've got to get 3 customers. You're going to talk about $100 an hour if they have to get 2. And Mary's either going to say yes, no, or maybe. I'm getting ready to lay it on you. Mary says maybe, for whatever the reason is. All you have to do is say, well, Mary, if you're interested in making $100 an hour, would you be willing to sit down with me and sign yourself up as a customer so you can start getting the savings immediately, and then get 1 more customer? Because if you'll make a list of 10 people that want to save money for something they're already spending money on, these would be people that are bitching to you about not making enough money, or they got financial woes or whatever. These are people you know, love, and trust that you can do a favor for. I will almost guarantee you that within 1 hour of smile and dial and me coming over to your house, we can gather a second customer. And so you're going to make $100. Now, it costs $100 to get involved in our business, and if we put 2 hours in, we're going to get 2 more customers. And you'll make $200. And Mary, here's the good news. You don't have to put up 100 to see if it'll work for you or not. You see, if you as a consultant have over 20 customers, you can put them on your account and move them within 7 days. If you don't have 20 customers, get off your butt and go get 20 customers, because that's the cleanest way to do it. But if you don't, you're brand new, you're going to put them on payment. You're going to form and you're going to put them on payment. And I'm talking to Mary about making $100 an hour. And I'm always going to bring it back. You got to dumb this so down. I'm always bringing it back to Mary. I'm saying, Mary, when do you want to make $100 an hour? And we sit down for a couple hours, just you and I promise you that we're going to get 3 customers, you know, and with yourself, that's going to be about $100 an hour. Now, you got to get an extra customer up in the Northeast or in Chicago or wherever you are, so maybe you're talking about $75 an hour. The same number of hands went up when I asked who wants to make $75 an hour as did people who wants to make $100 an hour. People don't make that kind of money. And you can say things like this: how would you like to make $100 an hour on your time frame with no boss in the comfort of your living room? If I did most of the work. You see, the distinction is we're not trying to get a list to go recruit people for them. We're going to go do them a favor, and a couple of people they have do them a favor, and just gather them a handful of customers. So you sit down with them now. You say, well, that doesn't work. You know, I'm working with Ron Park and his team up in Delaware, and I'm in Texas. How's that work that way? Well, first off, you get the team in Delaware that can go in the living room to do it. But the second way you do it is you can do it through a 3-way call. So here's what you're going to do when you sit down with Mary. You're going to take about 10 or 15 minutes, and you're going to teach them, okay, how to ask for a favor. Okay, I don't have time to go into how we do customer acquisition, but if you don't know it, go to topambitleaders.com, click on training, and watch Mary's video. Ask them to do a favor. And you're going to role play. We all know what the objections are going to be. So you're going to throw out a couple of objections. You're going to spend about 10 or 15 minutes getting Mary comfortable with making these phone calls. Now, I'll tell you right now, because I've got some people that are exploding this right now, you're going to get the Marys of the world that aren't comfortable. They're going to get nervous, and all of a sudden they're shoving the phone in your ear. That's okay. You would prefer for Mary to do it herself, but if Mary's got to shove the phone in your ear and you got to get the job done, that's fine, because it's about Mary getting into the business. And it's about keeping it within the parameters of trying to make her $75 to $100 an hour. So you go, okay, Mary, it's 8 o'clock, let me train you for about 15 minutes and tell you how we're going to do this. And then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to sign Mary up if she's eligible for the service. And when you sign Mary up, you make her sign herself up on the computer. Why? Because you're training Mary. Okay? And then you're going to start, and you're going to make a written list of 15 people that can save money. And then this is very important. What you're going to tell Mary is, Mary, I know you think this is simple, and I know you think we're going to call your mom, and your mom's just going to sign up. And what I want to tell you is the probability is that your mom won't sign up. But if your mom does sign up, we're going to throw a party, hallelujah, we got 1 out of 1. But if she doesn't sign up, then we're calling Bob, and you got the list right there, or John, or Sue, or, one of these people are going to sign up. And the reason that we got 15, 20 names on this list is because I know to get 3 that we're going to need, we're going to need about 15, 20 names on this list. So you're setting the expectation for Mary to understand that the first person she tries to call, because she's not going to do it real well, is probably not going to sign up. And we're going to spend 2 hours, and at the end of 2 hours, we're going to have you 3 customers. And folks, at the end of 2 hours, if you smile and dial with them, you're going to have them 2 customers, you're going to have them 4 customers, or whatever it is you need. And if you've got 20 customers in your account, and then you're going to turn to Mary and say, Mary, it took an hour and a half. You just made $200. That's over $100 an hour. The question I have for you is, do you want to spend 100 to make the 200 you've already made? Well, what is Mary going to do? She's not going to say no. So what we're going to do is we're going to put your credit card up right now. We're going to get these verified by Friday. I'm going to transfer them to your account. Okay, or once we get you signed up, we're going to input them off of this paper here. And, as long as they're verified by Friday, a week from Friday, you're going to get paid $200. So the shift, very, very simple, is instead of getting a written list to talk to them about joining our business, we're going to get a written list of people that they know that they want to save money for. And then after we've gotten their customers, and we've always equating it to how much they made per hour, we're just going to turn to Mary and say, Mary, you just made $127 an hour. How many friends, relatives, people that you know would be interested in making $127 an hour just like you did? Folks, the list pours out. I mean, just pours out. Well, I know John, such and such at work, blah, 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 blah. I mean, like a machine gun, blah, 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 blah. So you're right back to what? Mary's going to call them up, get them to look at the video. It's important that Mary was tied into the system. Get them to look at the video, just like you got Mary to look at the video. If they say yes, Mary's going to sign them up, and then we're going to go help them gather customers. If they say no, then Mary just got her next customer. And if they say maybe, then Mary's going to say, hey, I made $127 in the first 2 hours I worked this business with Brian. And Brian's willing to come over to the house and do what we did. If you're willing to give us 2 hours, you pick the time, we'll come over to the house, and if you do as well as I did, you're going to make $127 an hour. Or you're going to make $75 an hour. You're going to make $92.50 an hour, or whatever it is. That's why it's important when you start with them that you don't lollygag around and you work through that 2 hour thing, and then you calculate how much money they made those hour, an hour and a half, or 2 hours, or 2.5 hours it was. Worst case scenario, it's going to be $50 or something an hour. How many people in here know a bunch of lazy people that would love to make $50 an hour? You see, what we've done is we've taken it from a position of I've got to depend on other people to you don't have to invest anything. This is like open enrollment to make X number of dollars an hour. I can't emphasize the importance of talking about making X number of dollars an hour, because that's what people can relate to. So Mary and I are going to go, hopefully we're going to smile and dial, because Mary's going to be going through training, but if Mary can't go, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put Mary on my cell phone, speakerphone, and she's going to hear me working with Jane, gathering those customers. If she can't get away because of her kids or whatever, preferably it's going to be me and Mary going and working with Jane to help Jane gather customers. And then I'm going to do it over and over and over again, and after I've done it 2 or 3 times for Mary, then Mary's going to go do it for Jane. And then after Jane's seen it a few times, Jane's going to go do it. In other words, people have to get proficient. It breaks down if you're running around. Let me tell you how this will fail for you. It's as many people as you can get, I'll go help and smile and dial with them. Doesn't work that way. You can go and help them get 2 or 3 people. And when you're getting that written list from them, you can say, Mary, how many people you know want to make $127 an hour? Well, I got a lot. John. Well, you understand that if John makes 200 that you're going to get 200? So you're going to go with me over to John, and if time-wise he does as well as you, for that trip over there, you're going to make $127 then too. Let's just take it back to $100. You're going to make $100 an hour there too. How much extra money you want to make a month, Mary? I mean a week? Would an extra $500 a week help you out? Folks, this is astronomical money to the people we're talking to. And when Mary says yes, we got to invest five hours. It's not a matter of whether they believe it or not. It just happened for them in their life. All we got to do is just go gather a few customers for people. Now, what happens in this paradigm shift is every single person, just about, that gets into your business gets paid. And when they go and start telling the stories of, I worked 5 hours this week and made $500, what's going to happen in your organization? It's going to explode. But it's just like a pot boiling water. You know, it's going to get a little warm. Then you're going to see the little bubbles, and then little bubbles going to come up. Folks, this is not going to explode your business overnight. But if you'll understand the distinction of what I just taught you, is instead of getting a written list of maybe for potential consultants, sitting down with them, not telling them, you can make this much money and this is how you do it, not going to work. Go and help them gather 2 or 3 customers, equate it to how much they made per hour, ask what friend wants to make that kind of money per hour, and guess what? You come and help, and the company's going to pay you that much money too. Your friend's going to make $75 an hour, and you're going to make $75 an hour. And I'm going to do that long enough for you to start making $300-400 a week, and then it's going to be on you to go and teach it to some people, and then we're going to get some other people to teach it. And as soon as you don't even, folks, don't even go in to how they make it to RC. They don't even understand any of that crap. What you need to show them is how they can go make $75 to $100 an hour. And what I'm telling you is that we started with a very small group of people, and I can give you testimony after testimony after testimony of people that went and implemented it, did it the way that I taught it, and their business is blowing up.